Some stories in football aren't about trophies. They're about survival, about people refusing to let something they love disappear, even when the world tells them it's gone. This is the story of Bury Football Club, a club that was meant to be finished, but somehow still breathes. It all began in 1885, when two church teams merged in the heart of Lancashire. They called themselves Bury Football Club, a name simple, proud, and local. Within 10 years, they were in the Football League. Within 50, they were FA Cup winners. In 1900, Bury beat Derby County 4-0 in the final. 3 years later, they won it again, 6-0 against Derby. To this day, no team has ever won an FA Cup final by a bigger margin. Gigg Lane became their home, a modest ground with a big heart, built from the hands of working people who loved their town. For generations, Saturdays meant Bury. Grandfathers, fathers, sons, same seats, same rituals, same pride. They weren't Manchester United or City. They didn't need to be. This was their club, small, stubborn, and real. Through the highs of promotion and the lows of relegation, they stayed loyal. Because that's what football is, not a brand, not a product, but belonging. Then came the modern game. Television money, inflated wages, and the business of football. For a club like Bury, that meant one thing. Survival got harder. Ownership changed hands. Promises were made, then broken. Debts grew. But still, the team on the pitch kept fighting. In 2018-19, Bury finished second in League Two. Promotion to League One, a moment of joy that felt like a miracle. But behind the celebrations, everything was falling apart. Players went months without pay. Staff were laid off. The club's finances were a maze of confusion, debt, and despair. While supporters begged for answers, the owners went silent. The EFL gave deadlines, then extensions, then finally, an ultimatum. On the 27th of August 2019, Bury FC were expelled from the Football League. 134 years of history, erased with a single statement. They say football is just a game, but tell that to the people of Bury that day. Fathers stood outside Gigg Lane with their sons, not sure what to say. Elderly fans, some who had been coming since before the war, just stared at the gates, in disbelief. How could something so old, so loved, just stop existing? It wasn't just the loss of a team, it was the loss of an anchor, a part of who they were. But in that silence, something stirred. Within weeks, a group of fans refused to let Bury's story end here. They called themselves Shakers Community and began the impossible task, to rebuild. They started a Phoenix Club, Bury AFC, no investors, no suits, just supporters. Volunteers designed badges, found pitches, built a team from scratch. They played their first game in 2020, behind closed doors during the pandemic. Yet thousands watched online. Because for them, it wasn't just football, it was resurrection. They started in the 10th tier of English football, a world away from where Bury once were. But every game meant everything. Every goal felt like a small act of defiance. They sang louder, cheered harder, and kept dreaming of one day coming home to Gigg Lane. Meanwhile, Gigg Lane sat silent, grass growing through the concrete, seats fading, a ghost of what once was. But the fans weren't finished there either. They raised money, appealed to the council, and fought for ownership. And somehow, they did it. In 2022, Gigg Lane was bought back by the people who truly owned it all along. They cleaned it, restored it, and opened the gates once again. The day football returned to Gigg Lane wasn't about results, it was about redemption. Fathers and daughters standing where their grandparents once stood. Songs that hadn't been sung in years echoing again through the stands. It wasn't a comeback, it was a rebirth. And as the team walked out, you could feel it in the air. That rare thing football sometimes gives you, pure, unfiltered joy. Today, Bury's future is still being written. The fan club and the legacy club are merging, united in one goal: to build something sustainable, honest, and community-led. They may never reach the Premier League. They might never lift another FA Cup. But in a world where clubs vanish overnight, their survival is a trophy. Football tried to forget Bury. Money tried to bury them. But you can't bury something that still has a heartbeat. Because a club isn't just a business, it's people. And when those people refuse to give up, the story never really ends. Bury FC, the club that refused to die.